Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Let's Have a Pint. Today we have Wild Olivia from Brickway Brewing, my favorite brewery. It is an American wild ale, 7.5% alcohol by volume, only 15 IBUs. There is no description for this beer, and I do believe it is only available at the brewery. I could be wrong, but I have not seen it in stores. Of course, I don't really go to the store for Brickway. I like to go to their brewery to pick up their beers. And for this one, I'm wanting to try something different. I have my sour glass, and I also have my Tiku glass. Because I do want to have it in my sour, but I also feel like it's a good enough beer to have in the Tiku. It does say on the bottle that it's tart, funky, and sassy. So let's see what we are in for here. So when I opened it, let's see this one as well. A mile ahead came pouring out. Which, that was exciting. Alright, so we had about 2 fingers worth of head. It's straight white head. Actually, the best light is here. Barely see through it, just shadow. There is no mistaking that stringent sour smell to it. Very, very tart. It's definitely the yeast that I'm smelling, obviously. Has a really light mouthfeel. Pretty carbonated, as you would expect. Actually, there's very tiny bubbles, not actually too many of them. It is tart all the way through. I ate like sour apples right up front.
Okay, right, we're going to end it there. Next episode, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to try to finish this bloody terrifying mission.
That's really, I think, what I get throughout, actually. What I love about this is a straight sour. Nothing masking the sour with a different flavor. Just straight sour. Like you got your raspberry sours and strawberry sours. There's nothing to kind of hide away that taste of being a sour. I really like this one a lot. It actually gets a pretty high rating. I mean, granted, there's only been 249 ratings on this beer, and I guess only 232 people have rated it before. If I had to equate it to something, it would be, and was actually for the longest time my favorite sour beer. Alright, sorry about the interruption. I had an important phone call. Anyways, the beer I most, what it makes me think of, actually has the same IBUs, is the St. Louis Goose Fond Tradition from, and I'm going to butcher the fuck out of this, Browage von Hansbrock. Von Hansbrock. That was one of the first sours I had ever tried. Of course, it's a different style because this one's an American Wild, and that one's an actual goose. But it's honestly very similar to me. It's not quite as good as La Folie, but it is damn close. This is up there as one of my absolute favorite sours.
I like that a lot. That black face looks awesome.
But anyways, like I said, it's been rated 249 times, 232 unique. It hasn't even been done since July 18th. No, that doesn't make sense. July 1st, 2018. I'm silly. But it gets a 3.77, which is a pretty solid rating. I must say, I like that it's all over the glass there. Oh, and by the way, it's July 3rd. The significance of July 1st isn't much, unless you know what day it is. Hell, this might not get ever uploaded. It might not be uploaded until August 25th or something. I don't know. But since the last time I did one of these, I finally got to go to Kros Strain and Pint 9 brewing companies. Let me see here. Beer history. It's probably exactly what I'm looking for, and it is. Anyways, we decided to start at Kros Strain. We didn't even realize it was their anniversary. So pints were $1 off. But first beer I had was Hop Shake, which they had just tapped. Since it was their anniversary party that day, they were tapping special beers all day. Hop Shake was at like 11 a.m. and we were there at like 12:30. They had one at 2, which we were there for. Well, we didn't see them tap it, but we started seeing people asking for it. So I don't know, maybe it was pre-tapped or something. I don't remember what that one was. I should have taken a picture of the sheet of paper. But I remember at 4 o'clock, they had a some sort of stout going on, and I was really excited to try it, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to. And then they had one called Invictus that they were tapping at 6 p.m., and that was a Baltic Porter. I've had one Baltic Porter. I'm pretty sure it was Baltic Porter. I'm going to be laughed at if it is not. Let me double check here. I've had one Baltic Porter recently, and it is one of my favorite styles. Excuse me. Let's see. Apparently there's a lot of beers named Invictus, so let's go back to Kros Strain. We'll go to their 63 beer.
So we see how quick it drops to its comfort threshold, and therefore stops breaking out and killing things. So.
Oh, Russian Imperial Stout. Maybe the other one was the Baltic Porter? I'm not sure. But I was really excited to try this one. 11%. I'm sure it was absolutely amazing. 26 people have said they have had it. I would love to be one of them, but I wasn't going to be there. I was going to be at Pint 9 by then. But I started off with Hop Shake, which was my first ever actual New England style IPA. And I can tell you 100% certainty, with 100% certainty, that if the Sam Adams New England IPA is actually a New England IPA, then what the movie theater that I went to had was not that. Because this thing was very much hop forward and very bitter. There was no sweetness or juiciness to it whatsoever. And by what I read in the description of the beer, it was supposed to be sweet and juicy.
Yeah, there we go. It's going down. Oh, it's been hit.
But anyways, my friend got Helly's Creek, which is a Helly's lager, obviously, to start off with. And that was absolutely amazing, too. I rated that 4.5. You know, I rated the Hop Shake 5. Then I had dry hop New England style IPA, which was fairly similar, but there was a little more bitterness to it because it was actually double dry hopped, which was their Fairy Nectar London, and that was rather tasty as well. I gave that a 4.25. And then I had one of probably my favorite of the style, Berliner Weiss, their Qualiteers Project. Whoo! If you like sours, you need to have that one because it's an excellent sour. Nothing different on the... There was nothing different for the head, nothing different for the smell. If possible, I think there's less bubbles. I can't see it through whatsoever. It's almost sharper. I think it might be sharper out of this one. Whew, that hit me in the back of the throat. But anyways, he also we got, after the first round, we got a flight. We got flights, one apiece. He had, one other one that he had that I had to try was their Dark Paradise Amber Ale, which I had to try it because I got an offshoot to that kind of need to try the original beer first, I feel like. And it was one of the best English milds I've ever had. It is a style I really enjoy. I gave that one a 4.5. And then one that was a very interesting beer. It was an offshoot, same with the first one he had, the Helly's Lager. This one is the same beer, but it had like habanero and other peppers added to it. So, sorry. This beer was hot. I've told you guys, the last time I had a hot beer was before I was into hot food. So I wasn't able to drink this, but I am so glad I didn't get a full pint to this one. While it was good, and I gave it a 3.5. It was not what I could handle. I couldn't handle it. It was too much for me. but honestly, it was good, and I can see for anybody who really is big into heat, which I enjoy heat. I don't love heat, but it's very much highly recommended. It actually is hot. I hear a lot of beers aren't actually hot. It was very nearly as hot as the Twisted Pines beer from the Ghostface Killer. Another one that I had on my taster or flight was the Dark Paradise Project Java Coffee. And curious, did I like that better? No, I liked it about the same. But it had a lot of coffee flavor. It was really rather impressive how much coffee was in that. Then I had their Riso bitter. So it was a extra special strong bitter, but with rye at it, and it was actually fairly bitter for a ESB. I did give that a 3.5 though, because it just felt kind of. ESBs are fairly light, but this just felt lighter than your typical ESB, so I took a few points away for that. A style I usually like quite a bit is dry Irish stouts, but we went over to Pint 9 after Kros strain, and that was the first one I had, and they were maybe half as busy as Kros strain had been all day. Now, granted, Kros strain was having their anniversary party, but I feel like Kros strain would have been more busy anyways. And we'll get into why after I tell you what I had at Pint 9, and you might get an idea throughout this. I rated one of their beers over 4 stars. But their Dry Irish Ice Stout was 3.5. I was fairly disappointed with it. And I was thinking, if this is what I'm in store for, I'm not going to like this place. But I felt like I was being kind of generous, giving that a 3.5. Their Pale Ale, because I hadn't had anything from Pint 9 before going in there. I had had a few Kros strain beers, but not many. So I had an idea that they were these big, bold beers. But anyways, then I had their Pale Ale in a flight as well. And I gave that one a 4. It was really good. It was actually a fairly good pale ale. I'm not huge on pale ales. I like IPAs a lot better than pale ales. But the only one I can really say I really like is Sierra Nevada's pale ale. But that almost drinks much more like an IPA than just a pale ale. But anyways, then I had their grapefruit IPA. And that one I gave 3.5 stars. You could actually get the grapefruit out of it, but it was just a hint. And then I had their regular IPA, which was okay. I gave it a 3.75. It was just basic. There wasn't actually a whole lot of bitterness to it. It didn't feel like a big, bold beer that I feel like anymore, if you're going to brew an IPA, you got to brew a big, bold IPA. Otherwise, it's just going to get lost. It's going to be forgotten in the shuffle. Then I had my favorite beer from them, and what seemed to be everybody else's favorite was their OSO Cafe. It was a stout beer with a fair amount of coffee, and there was some chocolate. You know, it wasn't big nor bold. But for a regular stout, it was slightly bigger than your average stout, as far as what you get out of the flavor and everything. But I gave that one a 4.5. And I honestly don't know if I'll ever be back to Pint 9. I love the name. The name is perfect. They just need to be more outgoing is not the right word, but more a little braver with their beers. Do a little more with them. Throw more into it. Don't be afraid to make it bigger and bursting with flavor. Uh, I do have to say this though. They did get pretty busy by the time we left, and I have never seen a line at a bar. They had a line, waiting of people waiting to get beers. I've never seen it before. But of course, it was helped by the fact that they had one bartender, and that was it. Uh, Overall, I'd give Kros Strain 5 stars, actually. As a brewery, 5 stars. I love the aesthetic of the building. You could see into the brewery. I love it when you can. I wish it smelled like a brewery. Neither of their tap rooms smelled like breweries. My absolute favorite for that was when my friend and I went to Colorado. Like, shit, this was back in 2011. And we went to a bunch of different breweries, had a bunch of beers. We went to Oscar Blues, and they basically just have a wall up for their tap room. It's huge. It's a warehouse, but they just had like your regular 12-foot wall or something. I mean, not regular. These are like 8. Most are like 8 or 9, but it was like 12 feet walls that just cut out a little corner of the warehouse for the tap room. So you got all those smells, and it was just so incredible. I love that brewery smell. If my apartment could smell like that, I'd actually be pissed, because then I'd always want to be drinking. And I want to drink enough as it is. Jesus Christ, I love this. If I remember correctly, actually the first time I ever had a sour beer, I liked it. Of course, I did have a few dip-ins. Like, I had Lindemann Strawberry, I had a couple others from them. I had this one was one of the early ones, which I probably will never have again. There was also whatever the biggest raspberry sour is from over in Belgium. I had that one too. I don't think it's Fruley, and I don't think it might be Lindemann's. I don't know. But the first True Goose I had was actually that, or first true sour that's not sweetened with fruit, was that St. Louis Fawn Tradition, and it became one of my favorite beers. And I feel like with sours now becoming more accessible like IPAs are, not nearly to the extent, don't get me wrong, IPAs are still ballooning in popularity. There's a reason why Breckenridge a couple weeks ago had 4 or 5 of their taps as IPAs, or at least what was shown on the website. 4 out of 5 were IPAs. There's a reason for that. But I remember when I got into craft beer, 99% of your sours were from Belgium. I worked at Brickway, at Bricks back in 2010. 8 years ago. And the section we had for Belgium beers, which was 2 doors, stopping, had like 2 sections that were of sours. So we had 2 shelves devoted to sours, and that was really all we had, and it was nearly all we ever had in. There was a few, like once in a while we'd have ones from New Belgium, we'd have some for Avery, but for the most part, that was it. Also at that time, Nebraska had started to get better as far as how many breweries we had in state. But honestly, for local beer, when I started there, we had 2 doors. Now you could easily fill 7 or 8 doors. Granted, you go to Colorado, you could probably fill 20 doors with just local beer. But yeah, at that time, sours just had no popularity whatsoever. They were a big special release, and now you're starting to see like Dogfish Head S Sequence Ale that is out year round. You have a few others that are always around. I think I'm hoping Kros is always around as well. Who the hell was that? I don't remember who that was. I won't be able to tell you offhand. I don't think. No, I won't be able to tell you because it's bringing up too much other stuff that doesn't have anything to do with the word I typed in. But, I'm noticing that there's a few that I think are year-round beers that are sour. Now, granted, they're not huge sours. They're not, they're not like this. They're not like Lawfully. But, you can go to the store and pick up a 6-pack can of sour beer. And it's going to be good. It's not going to be incredible because it's nothing like this. But it's going to be good. Anyways, this episode's long enough, I think. It's just an absolutely incredible beer. I'm giving this 5 stars. I know I said I don't do that much, and I've given like 3 beers out of my 15 5 stars. But I am absolutely a sucker for sours. And I honestly can say this is my second favorite sour, right behind Lawfully. La Terror used to occupy that spot. This one's better than La Terror. I do appreciate La Terror because it has the hot bitterness along with the sour. Alright, well, until the next episode, Prost.